get a fright, they can tuck their little head back up into their shell and use those really big, solid legs. And I really appreciate you guys coming out to spend the day with us. We're very, very happy to have you. Very, very happy. And I'm glad the rain's held off. Now, today we have just reopened this lovely little section here. We just did a few little renovations of our tortoise habitat. And I wanted to chat to you all today about our beautiful tortoises. They are absolutely awesome. Now, these are Aldabra tortoises, and they're absolutely massive. They are the giants of the tortoise world. They get huge, upwards of 250 kilos. And look, they love a good scratch. Absolutely loves it. Look at that little face. He's gone into a bit of a trance there. Now, being the largest tortoise, they have very, very, very few predators, as in no predators out in the wild, once they get to that adult size. And that's all thanks to that shell. Their little head and their neck is very, very soft. But that shell is so tough and absolutely impenetrable that if they ever get a fright, they can tuck their little head back up into their shell and use those really big, solid legs to cover up their face. So they're completely protected. Now, this is particularly important when they're little, when they're first growing up, because when they hatch out, they are tiny, absolutely tiny, and very vulnerable to a variety of different predators. So that shell really comes to the fore when they're trying to put on size. Now, they have quite a slow growth rate because but they do live a really, really long time, and they continue to grow their entire lives. Unlike humans, where we reach a point then we stop growing, these guys will continue to grow, but their growth rate definitely slows down. And you can pretty clearly tell where they've been and where they are now. We just had a big returf of their whole habitat, and this section here that they've been on, they've absolutely churned it up. And that's because tortoises love water and they love mud, and make them. So out in the wild, being such a big, heavy-bodied animal, they often seek out the water. Not only to help them thermoregulate, but also because it's really comfortable, because they've got to drag around 200 kilos every single day. These two here, they would be somewhere around, maybe, 150 kilos? So as far as tortoises go, they're still pretty small. They've still got a lot of growing to do. I've seen them upwards of 250, and that is very, very heavy. And they're very determined. If they want to walk in this direction, doesn't matter who's in their way, they'll keep walking. I've had these guys stand on me a few times, and it's a very uncomfortable experience. Now, out in the wild, they feed on pretty much strictly vegetation. At the moment, you're seeing kind of grazing behaviour, occasional fruit as well, and they love a good hibiscus flower. That's a bit of a treat for them. They absolutely love it. Now, these two are males, and you can tell that you've got a male tortoise, first of all, because of the size. The boys get a lot bigger than the females. And you can also tell from the shape of the shell. Now, this shell, from on top here, is beautiful. It's very ornate. Oh, look. Enjoys that little scratch there. See, it's like hydraulics. They just go, oh, yeah, you're going to give me a scratch. And I think they enjoy it because you think they live their whole life, but they never, ever get to reach in under their shell, you know, so I think it must feel really good. Yeah, you can tell it's a male because they've got this big gnarly shell. They've got these really cool kind of triangular structures there, and some of the big boys will have super gnarly, very ornate looking shells. Whereas the females, generally, they're smaller, smoother, and more perfectly round. They're really a perfect little dome. We've got a female here named Coconut, and that's very fitting because she just looks like half a coconut. Oh, the water dragons are getting in on it. Now, you can also tell that you've got a male because they have a concave plastron. So the shell is defined as very, very young, and that's obviously to help them hang on when all of that's happening. I'm not going to go into that, but that's you can connect the dots. So this shell, while it is, as you can see, incredibly thick, really, really thick, and really just solid as a rock, they can actually feel through that shell. So if you come over and you give them a nice big scratch, they can absolutely feel that. They really enjoy it. And not only is the shell a bit of a, well, protection for them against predators when they're younger, but it also helps them to absolutely just plough through the dense bushland that they're often found in.
Now these guys, the Aldabra Tortoises, are their wild counterparts. Do you see the little water dragon there, just trying to get in on it? Here, I'm gonna get in a little piece. Here you go. It's all about sharing, you know. Here, I'm just gonna borrow this. There you go, you want some? Want some of that? You want a bit of that? Yeah, iron it off. What do you reckon? Yeah, yum. There you go, mate. You gotta share. Tortoises aren't very good at sharing. Now, we have worked very hard at Australia Zoo. As these guys are a vulnerable species, we've been working hard to try and breed them, to create a great captive breeding program here as an insurance population. But we haven't had any success yet, because they are notoriously difficult to breed. They are naturally in the wild, they really seek out that competition between males to really instigate breeding behaviour. And so to replicate that is very difficult. They also need a really specific substrate and environment to deposit their eggs. What the females will do when they have a clutch of eggs, when they're gravid, which is the reptile version of pregnant, gravid with eggs, they'll dig up a nest using a lot of care and precision, and then they'll deposit those eggs. And they'll deposit quite a few. They're like a little ping pong. They're like this little ping pong ball. And they'll deposit all those eggs. They don't have any teeth. They've got this little serrated beak-like structure, and that's just part of their skull. It's not like a bird's beak. That's part of that unit. See when he opens up his mouth there, you can see those serrations. And they've got a pretty good little jaw on them. They can crunch through just about anything. And they've got to eat a lot because they're not carnivorous, so they don't get a whole lot of protein and all of that. They've got to get all of their nutrients from vegetation. So they will continuously eat throughout the day. And that's different to a lot of other reptiles. If you talk about snakes or crocodiles, well, they can go weeks, months without eating anything. A crocodile would be doing pretty well to catch prey maybe once a month. That's a really good wicket for a croc. If they really need to, if times are tough, crocodiles can go up to a year without eating anything. And that's because what they're eating is just so rich in every kind of nutrient, protein and what have you. Whereas these guys, they work in a different way. They've got to constantly be searching for food. And so they're very active. You know, they're not like your crocodiles that sit in one spot, they lie in wait for something to scurry past. These guys are always on the move, always looking for a plentiful food supply. And so they are fit. This right here, this is top speed. This is a strike. He's putting on a strike on this piece of ground. He's coming for you. He's going the U-turn. He's going. So that's top speed. They're not exactly fast, but they just do not stop. I love them. You can also tell that you've got a boy because the boys have a longer tail than the girls, and they tuck their tail up underneath their shell. They've got this little flap here on their shell, so this little part that comes down covers up their tail perfectly. What are you doing? Look at it. Absolutely love them. They've got such a stocky foot. I think it's really cool that, oh no, water dragon, you're going to want to move. You're going to want to move. Get out of the way, you're going to get stood on. That's the thing. Tortoises, they do not have good spatial awareness. He would have happily just walked right over that water dragon. Gosh, they're awesome. And don't you love that, those little jowls underneath their head? Aren't they so cute? They're so squishy. Just love them. Well, I want to see if you guys have got any questions about our tortoises or any of the animals that you've seen at Australia Zoo. Mate, feel free to fire away. Now's your chance. I'd love to answer any of those. Yeah, mate, what was your question? Where do they come from? That's a great question. So they come from the Seychelles. So that's a string of islands that's found off the coast of Africa, the mainland of Africa. And they're absolutely stunning. I haven't actually been there, but they do exist in pretty plentiful numbers. They are still, I believe, listed as a vulnerable species. And you know, as pretty much every animal, habitat destruction is always going to come into play with these guys. The other thing with tortoises and a lot of reptiles, unfortunately, they're often really highly prized for their body parts, like their shells. You know, so often tortoise shells or snake skins used as ornamental use or in the fashion industry, and that's really, really sad. So with any reptiles, I always encourage, if you see wildlife products being sold anywhere, by not purchasing them, just by doing that, you're doing a great thing for the environment. Did you have a question over there? I saw your hand up, you guys. How are you? Oh, that's a good question. Do crocodiles bite any people? Well, I haven't been bitten by one, but I have been bitten by an alligator, and that really hurts. But I tell you what, every now and again, sometimes they do. And the reason why sometimes they get a little snappy is if you are in or around the water, because crocodiles live in the water. So if you are the shells on tortoises exoskeletons? That is a fantastic question, and it's a really interesting thing to talk about. Exoskeletons are what you see invertebrates getting around with, and it works basically in the same way. Exoskeleton is an outer shell that protects something like a beetle, for example, right? The tortoise, the shell is actually part of their skeleton, of their skeletal structure. So they have a conventional skeleton the same as we do. Underneath all this skin, we got bones. Same thing. These guys, underneath that skin, they have bones. And that shell is part of their bony structure. The only difference is, of course, there's a keratous material that covers the entire outside of the shell, so it is not exposed. But it's a skeleton just like ours. It looks like an exoskeleton that a bug might have, but they actually have a skeleton just like people do. It's a fantastic question. It really got me thinking how to answer that. That was great. Awesome, mate. So when you see a tortoise or a turtle, that's a skeleton. If you see a little bug, that's an exoskeleton. What was your question? What is the tortoise shell made of? That's a great question. Well, believe it or not, underneath this kind of outer layer, these are called scutes, right? Each one of these segments is a scute, and that's keratous. So that's kind of like fingernails, right? There's just this outer layer. It's sort of like a skin that covers it, right? But underneath there, and what actually fuses to the spine is actually bone. It's bony structures that sit underneath all of this. Pretty fascinating, hey? Really, really cool. And then, of course, in under here, he's got bones all the way through there, and the shell just sits on top of that, and it's all one unit. It's different to something like a hermit crab, where if they get sick of their shell, they can move to a different one. Doesn't work. This guy, the shell and the tortoise is one and the same, grow together. It's a good question, mate. What was your question? Did you have one? Why do turtles keep their tails curled up? Well, the reason why is because in the wild, when they walk around, there's lots of really rough rocks and spiky plants, and the ground can be really rough and uneven, and they've got a long tail, so they don't want to accidentally stand on their tail. They don't want to get it caught up on branches, because it's a little curly tail, and you can imagine it would get caught on things. So they tuck it up there so that it's nice and safe and out of the way when they're moving around. But when they go to sleep, their tail, you'll see it. They kind of lose control of it. They're just completely asleep, and you see their little tail sitting there. It's really quite cute. You can see it as you walk past. You've got his little tail tucked up in there. Good question. These are fantastic. What was your question? Are they born with shells? Yes, they are. And they're actually born, when they hatch from their egg, they look exactly like these two do, but just miniature. They look exactly the same, but only like this big, just tiny. Yeah, isn't that cool? Good question. Do you have a question, Mike? How do they communicate to each other? That's a really good question. Not well. Not particularly well. They're not a very vocal species. And they're not a herd animal, they're not a pack animal, so they don't need to have constant communication. But that's not to say they don't vocalize. They absolutely do. They will vocalize. They make a very kind of like raspy, growly kind of sound. I'm not going to do it for you. Can you do a good tortoise impression? No. It's kind of like. No, I'm not going to do it. It's like a hiss. It's like that's what it sounds like. It's like. Is that good? Look it up. Look it up. I don't do it justice. But it's like if you stub your toe and you go, ah. It's like that. It's like, ugh. Sort of what it sounds like. It's really hard to describe. But anyway, I'm talking about you. I'm talking about the noises you make. Hello. You can't eat my finger. Hey, aren't you cute? I saw a couple of hands up over here. Did you have a question? What was your question, mate? Do they fight often? Sometimes they do, but they resolve their disagreements very quickly usually. And tortoise fighting is not exactly an extreme sport. Usually, one tortoise is walking this way, and they get this big march like this. And the other tortoise is walking this way, and they get a big march, and then they basically just kind of step on each other for a bit, and then they go, okay. And then they go back to doing their thing. So sometimes they do. They have little arguments, but not too bad. Did you have a question? That's a good question. Yeah, those kind of spiky, spiny-looking structures there. Well, that's something that the males have. It's a lot more obvious. Those sort of conical structures that they have on their back, and that's just part of the topography of their shell, I guess you would call it. It's just part of the shape of the shell, and it's very, very thick. It's protective for them, but the actual those little structures, I don't think they really serve a particular purpose. It's just sort of how the shell is shaped. I mean, anyway, my mic's cut out, so obviously I'm talking too much. I want to say a big thank you. I really appreciate you guys. And I'll see you for the 2 months.
We're going to go up this way because we're going to work our way up.
You do somewhere else. I'm like, oh.
Yeah, it is. Okay, we have some tortoises here. You got it. Wow.